Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You already know the rest now. Most of you are old people. Most of you are returning viewers. Today, we are going to talk about when to move out of your father's house, when to move out of your family's house, of your family house. For each gender, moving out is different. And I'll start with for men. What I believe is that as a man, you should be looking to move out of your father's house as soon as possible. But ideally, I would say the moment you leave for youth service, if you're in Nigeria, the moment you're done with uni, out you go. I think it will help you find your purpose. If you are doing one thing over and over, clockwork, morning, afternoon, evening, the same exact thing under your family for all the years up until adulthood, and then as an adult, you still continue doing all of that, you are going to, how will I say it? You're not going to be exposed enough to know much about life or to know what your strengths really are. There are plenty of people that walk around, they ask them, what's your talent? What's your talent? And this is for both men and women. They don't know their talent. And it's not because they don't have, they've not just done enough stuff with their life to know. You might be great at skydiving, but you never skydive. So how are you going to know until you die that you're going to be great at skydiving or surfing or stuff like that? So this is good. Now, women can also be surfers and skydivers, but for men, the life experience, this is one advantage. Life experience is another advantage. Life experience, as in the exposure you need for street wisdom, because men are naturally expected to be street smart. You get, there are certain tricks a woman will fall for. You'll be like, hey, that's a woman that they always fall for that, like IG vendors now. But if you're a guy and you fall for the same kind of tricks, you're a fool, you're a mumu. So you have to be smart, and you cannot learn all that street wisdom inside your father's house. You have to actually go out and interact with people, which is why I would advise boarding schools for men, for boys. Boarding schools, all the way, you will learn things. I mean, you might want to shield your child from certain things that they will go through. But the truth is, if they live long enough, they'll go through it regardless. Heartbreak will come, they will cheat you, they will manipulate you, they will beat you up, you will collect beating, you will fight. You know, all the things that you're protecting your children from, they will still meet. And do you want them to have met at a point where they will be like, I've done this one since I was play? Or you want them to be adults and have no clue about how to navigate life? If your own is that you want to get up and make money and help your family, then leaving your house can really activate your hustle spirit. Like, if you leave out, if you move out and you start to stay on your own and you see what responsibilities are like, it will motivate you to do better. But if you're always there and the only thing anybody needs from you is housework, then you will just be used to doing housework and you will not really have any zeal for money. But if you've gone hungry because you didn't have money, or because you've not generated money to buy food by yourself, and you go hungry, when that bites you, it will rise something inside you, and then it will also give you respect for money. If the money in the household is controlled by your mom, for example, and then she does the shopping, does the groceries, and clothes, occasionally they'll buy clothes for you, so you're clothed, you don't really care, you don't about money and stuff like that. But when you go out and you see that if you have 10K, there's no free food, there's no free clothes, you start thinking, how exactly is this 10K, and then you have value for that money. Now, there are a few exceptions. The exceptions, for example, and this is one thing that they've used to beat us down as human beings, or let me just say as citizens of this country. I'll just bring it to within Nigeria or within Africa. Take, for example, now, a man has a business, a huge business, and that's your father. The children are living in the house where there's a family business. Maybe the father sells spare parts or is a carpenter, or they have a company. Moving out will not be a thing of hustle like most of us will be able to relate to. Moving out might be something of like freedom for the guy, you know, because I would always advise that he stays within the family and run the family business. And if it's going to be better for him to do that while staying in his father's house, then that guy I would advise to stay in his father's house. If there is something your father does, he's not a white collar job person, whatever it is, I would advise that guys stay and learn that trade. Because over time, the hardship and poverty we have in the world now is existing because people that were independent and were making their own money, were hardly paying any taxes, could afford to feed their family, raise multiple wives and everything, and also send their children to school. What they did was now to prioritize education for their children at any cost, at all costs. They sacrifice their legacy, their potential legacy, just for their child to be called educated. So the carpenter man now will make so much money, work hard in the shop to pay his son's school fees. His son is not in the workshop with him working. Even after school, his son is not in the workshop working. He's doing assignments. He's doing homework. And then the son goes through school. The carpenter gets, the business dies. The son is looking for a job outside. But if the boy would have stayed, or maybe after school you come back, you do work with your papa, you still get your certificate, but at least you're a very good carpenter at the same time. The family name will live on. If the guy is smart, maybe most children are not that smart, but he'll go to school and try to, how do I say it? Try to white collar the carpentry you get. So you can carry branding and come now. Then you people would, that's how generational wealth starts. But, the way everybody does it is just to kill off the artisan and then put a slave or a slave worker in the system. For girls, there is no moving out for women. You stay in your father's house until you're married out of your father's house. Now, everything has exceptions. But there are plenty of reasons why this is the best way to go. Now, mind you, this is upbringing. And I believe that this thing is going to be the way that we create the best men and the best women in society. However, see the advantages, I think, of why women should stay in their father's house until they get married. There is value preservation. If you're a good girl, the chances of you becoming a bad girl will be slim if you always have to go back home to your parents and your family every day. The chances of you taking external advice will be slim if you spend 4 hours outside and 12 hours at home and the rest sleeping perhaps. But that's one thing. So if you have values, you can preserve them easily. And of course, people can go outside. There are people who live on their own and have still preserved their values. I'm just saying it would have been easier to preserve, less temptations and all of that if you still stayed in your father's house. Second one will be perceived value. Now, this one is for people that don't have value, but you still stay in your father's house. When people they spoil from house, and if that is your case, then if you still stay at home, people will still think you're a good girl because you don't keep late nights. Even if you do, you don't sleep out, which is a big plus for any girl these days. I mean, that's what men think it's a plus for them. Girls don't think it's a plus for them. But yeah, if you have to go home every night, regardless of what happened, no matter how much fun you're having, you still have to go home. You can be the baddest of the baddest girl. They will still think you're a good girl somehow. If we do this thing like this, I think we will have a society where the men have gone through life early and at late 20s or early 30s, they would have matured so much mentally to deal with life and handle life and families. There are exceptions now with the women own. Now, some women don't want the traditional woman's path, where you don't really want anybody to provide for you. You don't really want to feel protected or, how you want to feel babied, that kind of thing. And if that's not what you want, you don't want the traditional female life path. And that way you have to find your own way. Maybe you're drawn to more masculine things. And then another one would be career people. There are people who, for example, you have a dream, a singer, for example. And you know that where your family house is, you cannot get to the point, you cannot achieve the level of success that you want to achieve in that field that you love so much. In that case, you might have to leave home to pursue your dream. So there are people who leave home to feed home. Like, sadly, this is Nigeria now. The country is hard. There are people who really look at it. They feel like the parents have done enough for them. That desire to give back home and the feeling that you've taken enough from your parents, especially when you're watching them age, makes you feel like you need to leave, And that thing is toxic parents. And this is one of the major ones again. There's something I saw on the internet. I saw a post. It's one of these popular blogs, maybe it's on the internet or Insta blog or someone, maybe I ever left. Posted something where someone said, do you always have that friend that whenever something good happens to you, they always seem sad about it? It's almost like they cannot hide it. You can tell that this person hates when something good happens to you. And then I went under the comments. And the amount of people that said their mother. And parents don't understand that time with their children is short until they start missing them. You get? And If if you don't build a good relationship with your children, eh, and they move out, they've escaped you. Yeah, they will avoid you. They will avoid you. So you might think you're doing things right in their best interest and everything. They're just looking for how to get rid of you. I mean, get away from you. So don't suffocate your children. Some people still hit their children as adults. So, as in, I'm going to say something again that's going to put me in trouble. I believe you can hit the female child, as in your daughter. Nobody else is going to be hitting her. But I'm saying, I don't think a father should be slapping his son that is 20 years old, or a mother should be slapping her son that is 20 years old. I don't know why I think it's okay for a father to slap his 20-year-old daughter instead. Maybe above 25, you can stop hitting them. But I feel like there's a fear for violence that women have that lives longer in them than in men. After a certain age, as a guy, you stop fearing violence. If somebody threatens you with a fight, you self you mold your fist. But I think with women, they fear violence a little bit more, so it might have a correcting effect. Use the time with your children wisely. Use the time with your children wisely because it's short. You get some people used to outsource raising their children to the church and to schools because they are paying money and they have their children for the majority of the time. I will tell you, the schools, their plan for your children is what the government wants for your children. That is, the government has a plan for your children. And when they go to school, it is that government's plan that they're implementing. So they don't care if your child is going to be a thief. That's not what the government just wants to give them a certificate, pass through the system, go to the next stage. It's not to, that's not their priority. Your child would have to learn things from you. So use the time you have with them wisely. If they go to school from 8 a.m. to 2, that time that they are with you, make sure the way you are bombarding the child with wisdom, knowledge, so that when they leave you, you have laid a solid foundation. Okay. So yeah. So I'm going to leave with this thing. There's a reason I think the way I think. There's a reason I've said these things I've said the way I've said them. And it's because deep down inside me and deep down inside you, I believe that we should know that God would have not made two different genders if we are not supposed to be doing different things to help the society. So, in that thinking, that is why I say the life path of a guy is going to be this way, and then when I'm saying the one for women is just almost completely different. That's why I think so. I think people are supposed to build differently to maximize their strengths, and this one too should go this way, maximize their strength, and then when they combine to raise a community, they will raise something of very, very high quality. Thank you very much for watching the Good Living Podcast.